SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation. SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation.
Surf Excel නම් භාගයයි මාසයකට වඩා රිදි සෝතයි.
Tonight, hidden threats. Sri Lankan-born extremist is killed after launching a stabbing attack in an Auckland mall.
Was carried out by an individual, not a faith, not a culture, not an ethnicity.
The bitter truth. The SPC saves billions through suspension of emergency purchase manipulation by unscrupulous pharmaceutical suppliers.
There are people who want to sell their drugs to a very high and unreasonable price. I'm going to reveal you few medicines like that. Before 2020, we have stopped everything. And this is the money that has gone to the pockets of illegal businessmen who legalized their illegal business through the emergency procurement.
Progress made. The foreign minister says that Sri Lanka has a strong case to place before the next UNHRC grilling.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has taken action under Section 13 of the Prevention of Terrorism Act to appoint a committee presided over by a previous Chief Justice, Justice Asoka De Silva, to identify others who can be released into the community.
A crucial time. Health authorities decide to extend the curfew until the 13th of September, which may make a big difference.
We need to wait for another 1 week at least to see the results of the current lockdown or the travel restrictions.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Friday, the 3rd of September, 2021.
දසනකාන්තී චූර්ණය සහිත ලීවර් ආයුෂ් දන්තාලේපය දත්වල ඇති ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් වලකයි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Eknai. Police in New Zealand shot and killed a Sri Lankan-born extremist who had been under surveillance for some time in Auckland today after he had stabbed 6 people in a mall. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said that this suspect had been a person of security interest since 2016 due to his beliefs in Islamic State ideology. Ardern, however, added that the responsibility of the attack is borne solely by the perpetrator, as it was carried out by a single individual and not by a faith, culture or ethnicity.
A Sri Lankan national who had been under surveillance by New Zealand police for his beliefs in extremist Islamic State ideologies was shot dead today after going on a stabbing rampage that left at least 6 people injured today. The incident took place at a supermarket in Auckland when the suspect had picked up a knife from a cabinet display and attacked other shoppers. The incident has been dubbed as a violent terrorist attack by New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who revealed that the Sri Lankan immigrant who arrived in the country in 2011 had just 5 years later become a person of national security interest. Subsequently, the yet-to-be-identified suspect was placed on a terror watch list and was placed under round-the-clock surveillance and was under constant monitoring by police and the Special Tactics Group. As such, police surveillance teams that were monitoring him were able to rush in and neutralize the suspect, thereby preventing further damage. Speaking at a media briefing today, Premier Jacinda Ardern emphasized that it is the individual that must be held responsible for the attacks and not a faith, culture or ethnicity.
What happened today was despicable. It was hateful. It was wrong. It was carried out by an individual, not a faith, not a culture, not an ethnicity, but an individual person who was gripped by ideology that is not supported here by anyone or any community. He alone carries the responsibility for these acts. Let that be where the judgment falls.
Meanwhile, taking to social media, the New Zealand High Commission in Colombo had expressed solidarity with its people today, expressing sorrow over the incident. The High Commission also stated that New Zealand's Sri Lankan community is and will always be an integral and treasured part of the Kiwi society.
Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Piri says that Sri Lanka has a strong case to prove its progress on human rights, reconciliation and democracy, with the 48th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council set to kick off this month.
With two very significant events coming up this month on the international diplomatic stage, Sri Lanka will once again be in the spotlight and under the microscope on its record on human rights, accountability and freedom. However, Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Piri believes that Sri Lanka has a very convincing case to put forward to the international community. Professor Piri says that the Sri Lankan government has made significant strides in addressing the many issues cited in the numerous resolutions that have been passed against it. At a special media briefing held this afternoon, the Foreign Minister explained what will be included in his brief to all member states in the run-up to the sessions this month.
A sitting judge of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka, not a retired judge, is presiding over a commission of inquiry. It has submitted to the president an interim report. So that will encapsulate the very tangible, measurable progress that has been made in many of the matters that are dealt with in the resolutions pertaining to Sri Lanka. Then look at the work of the independent institutions, the Office of Missing Persons, the Office for Reparations, the Office on National Unity and Reconciliation, the tremendous progress that has been made with regard to sustainable development goals. Then we have left the war behind us. We have found our way out of the woods. And today we are able to release increasing numbers of former LTT cadres. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has taken action under Section 13 of the Prevention of Terrorism Act to appoint a committee presided over by a previous Chief Justice, Justice Asoka de Silva, to identify others who can be released into the community after adequate rehabilitation without any detriment to vital interests relating to national security. Now, these are some of the accomplishments which we will present to international bodies that will be meeting within the next few weeks.
In addition, Professor Piri stated that despite what Sri Lanka is painted out to be, its citizens are part of a vibrant democratic process that includes a vociferous opposition that manages to keep the government on its toes, and a highly critical free media that is proof in itself of the lack of any restrictions on the freedom of expression.
The opposition, although not very large in number, is certainly active in parliament. The government is kept constantly on its toes. The government is held to account, questions are asked. We have reintroduced a procedure which existed some time ago in the Sri Lankan parliament. 2 questions at the end of each day. It is a very vibrant democratic culture which is receiving expression at all levels of society in our country. Look at the media, how independent, how aggressive it is. But criticism is healthy. We accept it. We are not taking any measures to impose restrictions on the freedom of the media.
Further addressing allegations against judicial independence in the country, the Foreign Minister also cited recent events such as the striking down of police cases against protesters by the judiciary as clear evidence of the disparity in what the resolutions say and the ground reality in Sri Lanka.
Then a most important pillar is the judiciary. Whenever government has intervened to restrict demonstrations and processions in the interest of public health to prevent the spread of a mortal virus, the courts have not hesitated to intervene time and again to tell the police, you have no right to do this.
State Minister of Money, Capital Markets and State Enterprise Reforms, Ajit Nimad Cabral, says that going by current data on where Sri Lanka's foreign debt lies, any allegations of the country being stuck in a Chinese debt trap is pure rubbish. Speaking on the state of the economy at a special media briefing today, the State Minister added that the government has sufficient plans in place to meet all its debt repayments and maintain a spotless record.
At a special media briefing this afternoon on the country's state of the economy, State Minister of Money, Capital Markets and State Enterprise Reforms Ajit Nimad Cabral addressed speculation of food shortages in the country that have even garnered international media attention. The State Minister explained that such speculation was unwarranted and far from the ground reality, blaming shortages in certain food items to attempts by who he termed unscrupulous traders who were attempting to profit from the country's current situation.
That situation had to be dealt with very quickly, and that is what the government has done. Any responsible government would have done that. And in order to do so in a framework of legality, we have invoked certain laws which the president has authority to do, and we will not have any shortage for the future.
Meanwhile, addressing the country's foreign exchange position, State Minister Cabral stated that the government was doing everything it could to ensure a stable rupee, while adding that despite pandemic challenges, growth expectations are still upbeat.
2021 third quarter has been to some extent curtailed in growth activities because of a partial lockdown that we have had, and that might affect growth, but still we'll probably have a growth in the third quarter as well. So in the year 2021, we would be in a position to have a reasonably modest growth vis-a-vis other countries as well. So overall, the forex situation is being handled very carefully because of the activities of the central bank as well as the government. We are ensuring that new inflows are created in order to ensure that Sri Lanka can have a stable rupee as well as a stable reserve position.
Speaking further, the State Minister also touched on continued insistence by the opposition for the government to go to the International Monetary Fund for assistance, saying that there is a plan in place that will ensure that Sri Lanka maintains its spotless debt repayment reputation.
We don't have a need to do that. We do have a respect for the IMF, and we have worked with them in the past as well. However, at this moment of time, we have identified the needs as well as the requirements of our economy, and we are working that out in the best way possible in the interests of all our stakeholders, the importers, the exporters, the lenders, the borrowers, the banking sector. And we are confident that with our plan that we have put in place, as well as the new initiatives that we are taking, we would be able to ensure that Sri Lanka will not have to default at any time in the near future or even in the foreseeable future, or for that matter, in the future at all. Sri Lanka has an impeccable record, and we obviously want to maintain that.
In conclusion, State Minister Cabral also responded to allegations of the country being in a Chinese debt trap, saying that current data on where Sri Lanka's debts lie exposes the myth.
There has been no stress being granted specifically because of Chinese debt or such amounts that have been lent by China. And we want to assure all creditors, whether it's Chinese debt or Japanese debt, which is in fact actually more than even Chinese debt, World Bank debt, as well as ADB debt, which is also higher than Chinese debt, that all these debts, whichever source it has come from, will be paid on time. So this myth that Sri Lanka is in a debt trap and that is caused as a result of borrowing from China is actually not a true story.
Now then, Sri Lankan health authorities today extended the quarantine curfew until 4 a.m. on the 13th of this month. Vice President of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, Dr. Manilka Sumanatillaka, believes that the move is necessary if the country is to reap the benefits of the sacrifices made in the last 14 days of the curfew and see a reduction in its daily deaths and COVID cases. He added that another objective that will be fulfilled through the imposition of the curfew is that the country will be able to promote tourism through the decline of its daily COVID cases once it finally moves out of the red zone.
A quarantine curfew was imposed on the 20th of August in hopes of seeing a reduction in the number of deaths and overall COVID-19 infections. Even though the restrictions were due to be lifted on the 30th of last month, government officials announced that the restrictions will be extended until the 6th of September. However, plans of lifting the lockdown scheduled for next Monday were postponed once again as officials decided to extend the quarantine curfew until 4 a.m. on the 13th of this month. The decision comes following heavy pressure exerted by health officials to extend the curfew in order to reap the benefits of such a move.
We are into nearly 14 days of travel restrictions at the moment, and we are yet to see significant reduction in the death rate or the number of new cases. But that is expected. We need to wait for another 1 week at least to see the results of the current lockdown or the travel restrictions.
With this being the case, Dr. Sumanatillaka states that Sri Lanka needs to work a bit harder and make some sacrifices in order to put itself out of the red zone right now and make for the green zone by reducing cases and deaths, which can only be done through minimizing exposure and public movements for a little longer.
Sri Lanka is currently in the red zone when it comes to international travel restrictions and so on. So if we are to become a green zone where tourism can be promoted and people could come into the country, we need to reduce the daily cases to about 950 per day, and the test positivity rate should be less than 2.5. So our idea of travel restrictions is to try and achieve this status as soon as possible.
Big 3.
Now, Chairman of the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation, Dr. Prasanna Gunasena, reveals that any drug shortages in the past were those artificially created by pharmaceuticals businessmen looking to profit out of Sri Lanka's health system. However, he says that at present there remains no cause for alarm as the Health Ministry has sufficient supplies of vital, essential and non-essential drugs in stock. Speaking to Indiviri Amuwatha on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, Dr. Gunasena revealed that by stopping emergency procurements from April last year, the SPC has to date saved billions, which otherwise would have ended up in the pockets of these businessmen.
Chairman of the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation, Dr. Prasanna Gunasena, says that talk of drug shortages circulating in the country are unfounded as the Health Ministry has sufficient supplies of vital drugs, essential drugs and non-essential drugs at the Medical Supplies Division.
There has been a lot of criticism from many of an alleged shortage of drugs within the country. How do you first respond to this?
But we have about 1,200 varieties and dosage forms of medicines used in the Department of Health. 2 days back, I got a report about the stocks available in the Medical Supplies Division. So now we have vital drugs, essential drugs and non-essential drugs. Vital drugs, everything is available. The drugs used for anesthesia, drugs used for critical illnesses, those are life-saving medicines. Essential medicines are also important, they are necessary, but there can be a replacement for that particular medicine. If we take the non-essential drugs, also there are about 15 to 20 non-essential drugs which are not available currently. Altogether it comes to about say 25 to 30 medicines which are not available. Now out of 1,200, 25 to 30 not available is actually a very small quantity.
Dr. Gunasena also revealed that Sri Lanka's health system has long been a victim of unscrupulous pharmaceutical traders who have manipulated the system to profit from emergency drug purchases at exorbitant prices.
So basically speaking, drug shortage is actually a artificially created drug storage. Usually the method they have followed is in the past they created the drug shortage in the media and they do a emergency procurement.
When you say they, you're referring to?
There are people who want to sell their drugs to a very high and unreasonable price. I'm going to reveal you few medicines like that. And what happens is when they say there's a drug shortage, everybody get panic. It become a political issue, it become a social issue. Then what happens is the Ministry of Health recommend to go for emergency procurement. Emergency procurement means you just give few days and ask whatever the people who have the quantities in hand and they purchase it. Now, since last April, we have stopped all emergency procurement. So far, from last April up to now, no emergency procurements have been done. Now, you know the famous cancer drug, rituximab, that has been procured by emergency procurement to 55,000 rupees, and our normal tender price we have purchased last year, it was only 17,000. Phenytoin sodium is a drug used for fits. We usually procured last year for 3 rupees and it was procured for emergency procurement 113 rupees. Now there's a list of more than 150 medicines. These are all papers and which is available in our website. We are going to publish it and you can see how much people's taxpayers' money have been drained into these emergency procurements before 2020. We have stopped everything. And this is the money that has gone to the pockets of illegal businessmen who legalized their illegal business through the emergency procurement. So
when you say illegal businessmen, there should be some sort of regulation by the State Pharmaceutical Corporation. Where does that come in? And who are these people who are really responsible?
This is the danger of this problem. If you take emergency procurement system, nothing is illegal. It is the legal system that has been created to procure a medicine when it is really, really needed. But that legal chance or the space given by the law has been manipulated to procure massive amounts of medicine to very, very high price. So nobody will be able to catch anybody. But There are certain things that has gone wrong, and I have given a list of these medications to the CID, and they are currently doing an investigation because there are certain norms that you can't manipulate. We have found certain instances where the norms have been manipulated, and we have given that the investigations are going on. But even if we investigate now, the loss has been done.
Deputy Director General of Education and Research at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Hemantha Herath, urges those with existing health conditions not to choose home treatment for COVID-19, as without proper hospital treatment, conditions would take a turn for the worst. So far, more than 35,500 patients who had obtained treatment through the Health Ministry's home treatment program have recovered from COVID-19.
On the 9th of August, a home care program to treat asymptomatic patients and those with mild symptoms of COVID-19 commenced island-wide to ease the pressure on hospitals. As of today, 50,066 patients have been treated through this program. Of that number, 585 patients have been admitted to hospitals due to worsening conditions, while a further 35,597 patients have recovered so far, leaving only 13,887 under treatment at present. However, the view of some health experts is that this mechanism will not work for COVID-19 patients with pre-existing health conditions.
If someone is at risk and if their age level is at the extremes and if they are suffering from any type of comorbidities like renal failure, diabetes and similar illnesses, or if they are having symptoms, firstly, do not get yourself registered into the home care system, which is for the lowest risk people. And also do not remain at home at your will. Inform the health authorities, the PHI or medical officer of health area, and arrange a hospital as early as possible so that the proper treatment or other care will be given to you all.
Meanwhile, 1,998 patients were allowed to leave hospitals or treatment centers today upon complete recovery from COVID-19. This takes the country's COVID-19 recoveries to 380,166.
In the meantime, the Sri Lanka College of Psychiatrists says that vaccinations remain a topmost priority for people with psychological disorders. Secretary Dr. Chamira Vijayasinghe says that the possibility of psychological conditions worsening is very high if they become infected with COVID-19. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka will be receiving its largest consignment of vaccines tomorrow of 4 million doses of Sinopharm.
The scope of Sri Lanka's vaccination drive was expanded yesterday as inoculations began for people aged between 20 to 30 years, starting in the Hambantota district using the Pfizer vaccine. Previously, the Pfizer vaccine was used to immunize people in Puttalam and Mannar above 30 years of age, as well as Sri Lankans leaving the country on employment or education. However, following the announcement of the start of the Hambantota vaccinations, questions have been raised over the reason for using the Pfizer vaccine.
ෆයිසර් එන්නත විදේශවලට යන අයට දීමට කියලා විශේෂයෙන් වෙන්කිරීමක් කරලා නැහැ. නමුත් අපි දන්නවා අපේ පාලනයෙන් තොර ලෝකයේ රටවල් වලින් මේ එන්නත සඳහා, ඒ කියන්නේ මේ එන්නත ලබා ගන්නා අය පමණක් තමා ඒ රටවල් වලට නිරෝධායනයෙන් තොරව ලබා ගන්නේ කියන එක යම් යම් යන පුද්ගලයන්ට දැනුම් දීලා තියෙනවා. එවැනි පුද්ගලයන් සඳහා ඒක විශේෂයෙන්ම ඉගෙන ගැනීම සඳහා යන අයට ප්‍රමුඛත්වය දීලා ඒ කටයුත්ත කොහොමත් කෙරීගෙන යනවා. ඊට අමතරව ඒක කරගෙන යන කාල සීමාවෙ තුල අපි පුත්තලන් දිස්ත්‍රික්කයටත් මන්නාරම් දිස්ත්‍රික්කයටත් දුන්නේ. මේක මේ තවත් ඉදිරියේදීත් අනෙකුත් වයස්ක කාණ්ඩවල කණ්ඩායම් වලට දිස්ත්‍රික්ක පුරාම මේක ව්‍යාප්ත වෙනවා. ඒ ලැබෙන එන්නත් ප්‍රමාණය අනුව තමයි ඒක ඒ දිස්ත්‍රික්කවලට දීමට කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, health experts also addressed concerns regarding vaccinations of people with psychological conditions today after reports of patients halting their regular medication before getting their vaccinations. Speaking on the issues, the secretary of the Sri Lanka College of Psychiatrists, Dr. Chamira Vijayasinghe, called on patients to avoid this practice as there is no danger in getting their jabs while taking their daily medication.
අපේ රෝගීන්ට කොවිඩ් එන්නත නිර්දේශ කරනවා. මොකද බැරි වෙලාවත් එන්නත නොගැනීම නිසා කොවිඩ් රෝගය ආවොත් කායිකවත් මානසිකවත් රෝග තත්ත්වය බරපතල විය හැකි නිසා.
In the meantime, at the Health Promotion Bureau media briefing today, concerns were raised regarding attempts to collect personal information from people seeking vaccinations. The circulation of a fake link on the internet has been reported, prompting the Health Promotion Bureau to warn the public not to fall prey to such attempts.
There's no such activity started by the Ministry of Health or the Epidemiology Unit. This is a fake collection of data. It could be dangerous as well. So I would like to request everybody not to fill in any of these information to any of these suspicious data collection tools. If the Ministry of Health is collecting such data, it would be through the MOH of the area, or we would be making an official statement.
Meanwhile, Sri Lanka will receive its largest single consignment of vaccines as 4 million Sinopharm vaccine doses land in Sri Lanka tomorrow. The vaccines are expected to be distributed to areas with vaccine shortages and will also be used to administer first doses as well. Meanwhile, as of last evening, a total of 12,604,733 people have been immunized with the first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine to date. Of that number, 8,801,182 have received their second jabs, meaning nearly 54% of the population above 18 years are now fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now then, taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, the all-share price index dipped today by 19.33 points to end at 9,316.65, while the S&P/SL 20 index of more liquid stocks ended at 3,494.76, following a loss of 6.13 points. The market turnover was 9.3 billion rupees. Now here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
After 3 days of 100 plus gains, today we are having a bit of a slowdown in the market. A lot of volatility at the start of the day before the decline, and we saw a bit of confusion among the investors as well, as there was a lot of buying interest at the start of the day. So not a big decline, we are seeing a gradual decline because there was a significant upsurge in the market today as well. Index finally declined to 9,300 points, and overall turnover was pretty good today as well. However, below the 10 billion mark, so as you can remember, we saw continuously 10 billion plus turnover levels over the last few days, but today just ending below 10 billion, but still onto the high side. So 9.3 billion of turnover and 56,000 transactions during the day. So though the turnover is slightly lower, number of transactions remain very close to the significantly high level. Overall, we are seeing the transportation sector continuing to lead the way. However, capital goods sector is again following course.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan rupee closed at 202.99 cents against the US dollar, according to the central bank's daily buy and sell exchange rate posted today. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.